mathematicians. Today I'm going to dive into the topic of rational equations. Rational equations are equations that contains algebraic fractions which are usually rational expressions, and they are equal to either a number or another rational expression. From prior knowledge, you should remember that an equation has an equal sign and it is going to be an expression that is going to be equal to something. And the difference between an equation and an expression is that the expression does not have an equal sign. So in this topic of rational equations, we are going to have rational expressions equal to either a number or it is going to be equal to another rational expression. We could also have a situation where you have two rational expressions that are added together, meaning they are separated by an addition or subtraction, and then they are equal to a number, or it could be equal to another expression. So now that we know what a rational equation will look like, there are two methods of solving rational equations. You can either solve it if it is written as a proportion by using the cross multiplication method, or what we say cross multiply, or if you have it where you have an expression added or subtracted by another expression and then it's equal to another expression, then guess what? Depending on how it looks, you can solve by clearing the fractions. So if you have a fraction plus a fraction and it's equal to a fraction, you can use that clearing by fraction method. So let's get right into our first example. So our first example is x plus 4 over 3 and set that equals to simply 4 over x. So that is our first example today. This is really set up as a proportion, meaning one expression is equal to the other. So with this, what we have to use is the cross multiplication method, or we simply say we cross multiply. And if you recall prior knowledge when you were dealing with problems that had to deal with proportion and you were given, say, a quarter, and I'm going to show an example here. A quarter is equal to, say, 2/3. In this case, what we usually do is that we would cross multiply, and that is what we'll do here for this. So let's get into this example first, dealing with numbers. So we will have 1 times 3 is going to be 3. You can simply write it like this, and this is for the students that are not versed in math. And so you have 3 equal 8, and so this is what your proportion would end up looking like. But remember now, when we're doing this, this is just a proportion, right? And we use numbers here. But we are taking this now to the high level when we are dealing with rational equations. So let's continue with this one. So we are going to use a cross multiplication method, and we're going to cross multiply that, and we are also going to cross multiply this one. So once we do that, we are going to end up with x parentheses x plus 4 close parentheses equal, and we're going to do the 3 times 4 here, which is going to be 12. All right, so now if you went ahead first and put the 3 times the 4 here, it's fine. The next line should read like this. We will now use our distributive property, and we are going to multiply also. X times x is going to be x to the second power. X times 4 is going to be 4x equals 12. So because it is set equals to 12 here, what I would suggest for you to do is now bring this 12 over to the other side. So we will end up with x squared plus 4x minus 12 equal to 0. And from here, we can now factor this out into 2 sets of binomials, because now we have a quadratic equation here. If you don't remember how to factor a quadratic equation or how to factor out a quadratic expression, you can go back and watch my video, and that will help you how to factor out these two. So we will have x here and x here in each of the binomial, and so we are taking the last term, which is a negative, and because our middle term is positive, so we need to find the factors of negative 12 such that when added is going to give us a positive 4. So oftentimes top, let me tell you this. You will know that because you have a negative number here, one of your factors is going to be negative, one is going to be positive. Not only that, because your middle term is a positive, then your greater of the two factors that you're going to find is going to be positive. So we can do negative 12. So off the top, I'm going to tell you because I know what this is. We're going to have positive 6 and negative 2 here. If you find yourself doing negative 6 and positive 2, then you know this will give you negative 4. You can't use that one. You would have to use the set. Alright, so now you have x plus 6 and x minus 2. And you put those in. Because now it is an equation, you have to solve them. So what I always say to my students, draw a line to separate them. X plus 6 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0. Because you have x plus 6 equals 0, you are going to bring that negative 6 over to the other side. And I'm only doing this step for students who don't remember to show you how you go about doing that problem. So now this will cancel out and you will be left with x equal negative 6. And over here you are going to bring the negative 2 over to this side. The sign is going to change, so it will be x equals 2. And these are your answers. As you should know by now, I like to add other things to this math problem. I just don't like to be plain. So I'm going to add, hey, if you like cheese, we're going to add some cheese to this. If you like sauce, we're going to add some sauce to this. I'm going to toss it up, toss it up, toss it up. So let's get into another example now, which is going to be different from this. We're going to have a fraction added to a fraction, and also it's going to be equal to a fraction. And this type of problem, you're going to use solving by clearing the fractions. So let's get right into it. So our next problem is 1/9, right, plus, and we're going to add that to 1 over 2x equal 1 over x to the second power. So as you notice here, fraction plus fraction equal another fraction. So there are actually two ways of dealing with this type of problem. So in this problem, you can use the method of solve by clearing the fraction, and when you do that, then you will get rid of all the fraction. And in order to do that, we will have to multiply by 18 x to the second power. So you're going to find the LCM, all right, the least common multiple that all of these can go into. You have a 9 here, you have a 2. Multiply the 9 times 2 because the 2 cannot go into 9, so that will give you 18. And then you have an x here, but you also have x to the second power. So this LCM we're going to use is going to be 18x to the second power. So I'm going to rewrite this problem, and I'm going to multiply everything by 18x to the second power. So once I have that, my 18x squared is going to go here beside each of these, and I'm putting it into parentheses. All right. Now you factor out to clear. 9 into 9, 1. 9 into 18 is 2 times, and so you have the x squared, so you have 2x squared here. Don't forget, you can put it up here. You can write it on top to make sure that you don't forget, all right? Or you can leave it as is and just remember that you did not cross out the x squared. So now you have 2 into 18 is going to be 9, and now you have x into x squared is going to be left with an x. Over here, only the x squared can be cancelled out, and you're left with 18. So here you have 18 on this side. Here you will have 9x because 9x times 1, and then plus you will have 2x squared. Don't forget the x squared here. That's why I suggest for you just put it on top so you don't forget if that's the case. All right. Now you have this. So all you have to do now is that you're going to rewrite it, where you're going to bring the 18 over to this side, and now you will have 2x squared plus 9x minus 18 equals 0. You'll notice by looking at this quadratic equation, because you have an equal sign here, so now it is an equation, you have to factor this out, and a is greater than 1. So you can go back and watch my video on how to factor quadratic expression when a is greater than 1 to get the factors here. But because this is an equation, right, you will have everything set equals to 0, because the difference between an equation and an expression is that an expression doesn't have the equal sign and an equation has an equal sign here. So to get this, the factors here, and I know off the top, is going to be 2x minus 3 and x plus 6. And you can test it. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 6 is going to be 12x, and then negative 3 times x is going to be a negative 3x. So 12 minus 3x is 12x minus 3x is going to be 9x, and then negative 3 times 6 is going to be negative 18. So yes, that is correct. So the next step now, we are going to set everything to 0. We're going to part it off. So we're going to do 2x minus 3 equals 0, and the other part is going to be x plus 6 equals 0. So because we have this, we know the next thing that we have to do is just simply bring the negative 3 over to the other side. Whatever number is being added or subtracted onto the variable, you have to bring it to the other side to solve it. So you have 2x is equals to 3, and over here you have x is equals to negative 6. Now you have 2x equals to 3 here. You have to divide everything by 2, and you will end up with x is equals to 3 over 2, or 1.5, or x is equals to negative 6, and that would be your answer. If you didn't use the method of solve by clearing the fraction, then there is another method that you could have solved this same problem by, and I'm going to show you right now. So I have the same problem, and I have 1/9 plus 1 over 2x equal 1 over x squared. Now you should notice that this is a prime example of you adding two expressions with uncommon denominators. If you don't remember how to add rational expressions with uncommon denominators, please go back and watch my video on that to help you to gain better knowledge and solve the math problem better and faster. So now that we have our 9 over 2x here and we are adding, we are simply going to multiply the 9 with the 2x, so I'm going to use 18x here. So I have my 18x. Now 9 into 18x is simply going to be 2x, and 2x times the 1 on top, and then you have your addition sign here, and 2x into 18x is going to be 9. You put the 9 there, 9 times 1, and that's you showing your work. Set it equals to 1 over x squared. So the next thing that you're going to do, you're going to solve this part. So you will end up with 2x plus 9 over 18x equals to 1 over x squared. You will notice here, right, you have a proportion set up. So now because you have the proportion here, you can use a cross multiply method to solve for this. So we're going to cross multiply, all right? So we will have x squared times 2x plus 9, and set that equals to 18x. All right? So once you have that now, what we're going to do, the next thing is that I'm going to multiply this out, right? And I'm going to get 2x to the third power plus x squared times 9 is going to be 9x squared equal 18x. So I still have my 18x. So I'm going to bring over this over to the side. So now I have 2x cubed plus 9x squared minus 18x. Set it equals to 0. So I could take out my x here. I'm going to use my GCF, greatest common, whether factor, whether it's a variable or a number. So I'm taking out the x because I can't take out a number because there's no number that can go into 2, 9, and negative 18. So I take out my x, I'm going to be left with 2x squared plus 9x minus 18, and set that equals to 0. Now you're going to continue. So I'm going to have here, bring it up here. So now I have x. We are going to factor this out again, and we will end up with 2x minus 3 and x plus 6 and all of that is set equals to 0. All right, that's what we have. And with this, what we can do, because we have two parentheses there, we can split this in 3. So we have the first part, which is going to be x equals 0. That's for this part. And then we have 2x minus 3 equals 0. And the last part is x plus 6 equals 0. So this we know is going to be x equals 0. 2x equal 3, because we're going to bring the negative 3 over, and this is going to be x equal negative 6. So we end up with here x is equals to 3 over 2, and x is equal to negative 6. And with this concept also, we know that x equals 0. We are going to reject the x equals 0 here. We're not going to use that. We're going to reject that. So we only going to have these two, which is x equals 3 over 2 and x equals negative 6 as your answer. I know this is a lot, but I want to show you one last example. And that is when you have a fraction plus a fraction equal a whole number. And let's get right into that. Our next example is 3 over 4 plus x plus 6 over x equal 1. You'll notice here you have a rational expression plus a rational expression, and we are going to use the concept of adding rational expression first to solve this. And if you don't remember how to do that, you can go back and watch my video on that, which is going to be helpful to you. So let's get right into this. And these are two uncommon denominators. So we are going to draw our line, and we're going to use our x multiplied by 4 plus x right below. So 4 plus x into this is simply going to be x, and then multiply by 3. We're going to bring down our addition sign. X into this is going to be left with 4 plus x. Put the parentheses there and multiply by 6. You must put the parentheses there. If you don't, then your answer will be incorrect. The next step that you're going to do now, you're going to multiply these out. So you have 3x. Multiply these. So you will end up 3x plus. You will have here 24 plus 6x. And you can write it here. 24 plus 6x. But writing it here, I like to write my things in standard form. So this is the reason why I did it here. Alright. So I'm going to put my 6x first plus 24 over x parentheses 4 plus x close parentheses, and then set that equals to 1. So we have this. So we have like a proportion here. So you can go ahead off the top now. And the next step is to combine all like terms. We have the 3x there with the 6x. So you have 9x plus 24 over x parentheses 4 plus x close parentheses equal 1. Now that 1 we can write it as 1 over 1 because we're going to use the cross multiplication method next. And with the cross multiplication method, all of this, the 9x plus 24 is going to be cross multiplied with 1, which is simply, I'm going to write it up here, I'm going to get my 9x plus 24, and then this is going to be the bottom part, which is going to be written at the side, 4 plus x. So now what I can do, I can use my distributive property and do this. So this is going to be 9x plus 24, and this is going to be simply 4x plus x squared. We are now going to bring everything over to one side and set everything equal to 0 over there. So what I suggest you do is have your 0 here equal and bring this over. So this will be negative 9x minus 24, and then we have plus 4x plus x squared. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want you to start and bring this over and have a negative x squared, because if you end up with a negative x squared, all of these like plus 4, so that would be negative x squared minus 4x plus 9x plus 24. But then you would have to bring back the x squared over the other side, and you don't want to do that twice. So that's why I'm writing it like this now. Alright? So the next step now, we are going to combine our like terms, and we have the negative 9x here and the positive 4x. So we have our 0 is equal to, we have our negative 24. We can write this first, which is our x squared, right? And we will end up with minus 5x minus 24. So we have these now. What we need to do is find the factors of this trinomial, and we need two sets of binomials. We're taking 24. Because we have negative 24, you know off the top that one of the factors is going to be positive, one is going to be negative, and also because you have a negative middle term here, then your greatest factor is going to be a negative, which is negative 8 and positive 3. So these are your factors. Because we have everything set to 0, the next step now is to still write them out, set them to 0, split them. So we have x minus 8 equals 0, and we have x plus 3 equals 0. So once we have that, then our next thing that we need to do is just bring this over to this side. So we have x equal 8 and x equal negative 3. So our answer is this, x equal 8 or x equal negative 3. Now that you know how to solve rational equations, you will use one of two of the methods. Remember, if it is already set up as a proportion, one expression equal the other, then you can go ahead and cross multiply. If you have a fraction plus a fraction, or a fraction minus a fraction and equal to a fraction, let's say if you have a rational expression plus a rational expression equal a rational expression, then you can use the clearing of the fraction method to solve for your variable and get your answer. In order to use the clearing of the fraction method, remember you have to find your LCM. You have to find that LCM that all of the denominators of those fractions can go into. And then you use that and multiply by each of the fractions to clear it out and get rid of the fractions. And then you proceed from there. So with that being said, I hope that you like what you saw and you will not keep this to yourself. If you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And guess what? Don't forget, hit the like button also. And share this with others around the world so they too can be better at math. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye now.